So one of my favorite shows is Couples Therapy. I like to see the progress of the couples coming into the awareness that the thing they think is an issue in their marriage is baggage that they have brought with them from their past. I have this belief, I have this core heart belief as a Christian that when in the Bible, when God said, and they shall be naked and unashamed, talking about Adam and Eve, the first married couple, that is the point of marriage. I believe with everything in me, the reason, one of the best gifts of marriage is when we as couples can learn to live naked and unashamed. I have this thought, this theory that if we were to surrender to being naked, completely vulnerable, transparent, unashamed, willing to let go and share it all with our partners, the hurts, the pains, the disappointments from our past, and just be willing to dig in instead of fighting each other to be right in situations, willing to look inside, look deep inside to say, where does this come from? Why is this happening? That's what I see happening on couples therapy. Now, because we are not wired, seemingly, to do the internal work ourselves, we tend to bring in another person, which is the therapist, the coach, someone else who can kind of be our mentor or guide to help guide us through the mesh of all of the noise and the hurts that we're creating with one another as a couple. Because it is in the listening that the revelations happen. And what's happening in most of our marriages, we're not listening deeply to one another, but even listening to ourselves to hear the reveal. The God is so gracious that he will literally allow the answer of your hurt, your pain, your sores, your discomfort, your triggers to come right out of your own mouth. If you are willing to listen, if you're willing to be engaged, if you're willing to move into that place of feeling naked, completely vulnerable, completely transparent, unashamed, not worrying about what your spouse is going to think, knowing and believing that you're married to someone who loves you so much that they love you for who you are, that they can hold space for you. So this notion that I have, that I carry, is that is the Garden of Eden for us individually in our marriage. That when we as a couple learn to do the emotional work, become aware of who we are, who's the person that I brought into the marriage, who's the person that you're bringing into the marriage, listening for the hurts, when the discomfort shows up, instead of looking at my partner needing them to change, asking God, what parts of me needs to change? What is this a reflection of that's inside of me? Because what I love about the story in Genesis is when, oh my God, like I get excited when I think about it. What I love about this story is how when Adam saw Eve, he says, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, I'll call her woman. He saw himself in her. But guess what they both had in them? That was the reflection. They saw God. Adam saw his God piece in Eve. And Eve was able to relate and to be willing to connect because she saw parts of herself in him. Well, of course, they was created, right? With rib, connection, intimacy, transparency, right from the beginning. Now imagine you being willing to do that kind of work in your marriage where there's intimacy, transparency, pure reveal, not judgment, not fear, but just enough love that bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. I see your God. I see God in you, and you see God in me, and I trust it. That is the work. That is the work. That is Naked and Unashamed, and that is why I wrote my book, Naked and Unashamed. If you believe or even have the thought that there might be something to what Kenesha's saying, get the book, do the work, and watch your marriage transform. Peace.